you're alive.
Thank you. And good evening and welcome and Happy New Year to all. This is the first meeting of 2021 for the Town of East Hampton Planning Board. Today is January 13th, 2021. I'd like to first off welcome our member Sharon Cobb for another year, another 6-year hitch. Congratulations, Sharon.
7.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, you're right. 7 years. 7
Thank
years.
you.
Cut you out of that valuable last year. So, again, thank you for your past service and your future service, and look forward to 7 more years.
That's right.
And hello, everyone else, and thank you all for being here. I'm just looking for one of our one matter that I wanted to have, an administrative matter that I wanted to bring up as we begin the year. We are, those of you who are in the world of planning in East Hampton Council and for applicants and professional planners, I wanted to make you aware that there was an issue which came up.
I get a blank screen.
Is someone talking? Is someone talking?
Are you able to forward it?
Joanne is talking to Marco.
All right. Well, maybe she can mute. Thank you, Jody. An issue came up last year, which caused us, which actually is on the agenda for this evening. We'll get to it later, but it caused us to review one of our procedures, or what had been a way of doing things, which we're now going to change as a procedure. So anybody who's out there who has applications pending or intends to bring, we want to let you know that going forward, in the event that an inquiry is required of the building department with respect to an application, the applicant should put their position with respect to what would be a building inspector's interpretation of the zoning code, put that in a letter to us, to the planning board, and the planning board will send the letter with a memorandum from the chair citing the specific provision from the zoning code that the building inspector is asked to interpret. The building inspector shall respond directly to the planning board. Each document, the applicant's letter stating its position, the chair's memorandum, and the building inspector's interpretation will be in the applicant's file. So in the past, there had been kind of a very disorganized way of doing things, in which applicants had been submitting inquiries directly to the building department. That's not going to be the case any longer. The questions that go to the building department are going to be presented by the chair of the planning board to the building department. The building department will respond to the chair, and then the response will be disseminated to the applicant. Like I say, the intention here is to make things smoother and avoid confusion and delay, which seems to have occurred, and we'll address it. It is a result of an application which happens to be on tonight, an inquiry that was made, and this is, we think, the way to deal with that issue which came up, which frankly had come up in fits and starts previously. And so thank you, Thomas, for looking into this and for making the suggestion, which we're going to adopt. Did I miss anything on that, Thomas? Thomas? Is Thomas there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're good.
We're good. Thank you. I like to hear. Okay, in that case, so now that everybody knows, That's the way it's going to be. We will now proceed with, if I can find my cheat sheet, the very first item. I should say, we have quite a number of matters on tonight. We have 7, although I think one of them has been adjourned. We have 7 matters on for subway review and site plan review. We also have a couple of matters on for regular meeting resolutions, etc. We need to go through these. I don't think that any of them are new. One that might be, but they're all matters that we've seen before. So let's try and get through these without if there are issues, obviously you want to raise them if they're important. But we're not going to need. I don't think we're going to need to have an extended discussion on any one particular matter. So the first one is 294 Abraham's Path, and again, one last thing, Marco, because of I should say, Fabia is no longer with us. She did a terrific job. We loved having her, but she has moved on. Marco is going to be taking over all the hard work right now, and so we'll be hearing a lot from him tonight. I think that Joanne is going to have at least one of the matters, but for the most part, we're going to run Marco ragged tonight. So let's start with 294 Abraham's Path. Marco, it's yours.
Thank you.
Is the applicant on the line?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Thomas. Is the applicant on the line on 294 Abraham's Path?
Should be
Yes,
David
I am.
Kirst.
Oh, there you go.
Yes, I'm here.
Mr. Kirst, good morning. Afternoon.
Afternoon. Yes.
Evening. Go ahead, Marco.
So an application has been made to divide the original parcel of Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-149-2-31 into 2 individual lots. The original parcel of 89,708 square feet will be divided into Lot 1, consisting of 34,854 square feet, which is 40,836 square feet minus a proposed access easement, and Lot 2 consisting of 44,854 square feet. The property is zoned A residence, which must contain a minimum of 40,000 square feet. It is situated off of Abraham's Path in Amagansett, located within the Suffolk County Pine Barrens and under the South Fork Special Groundwater Protection Area. So a public hearing was held electronically by video and teleconferencing, televised on local TV, LTV, Channel 22, and was made available for live stream on the LTV website December 9th, 2020. Transcript of the hearing was posted to the town's website after the hearing, and the hearing was to remain open until January 8th, 2021, for the purposes of receiving written comments. No members of the public spoke at the hearing, and no written letters have been submitted to the file to date. Comments from the fire marshal dated August 31st, 2020 have found the submitted information sufficient and no improvements for firefighting protection are required. The project is a type 2 action pursuant to SECRA, and no further review under SECRA is required. I believe SECRA. In conclusion, provided the board agrees, the application is ready for approval. Conditions of approval: proposed 50-foot wide scenic easement located along Abraham's Path. Proposed 20-foot wide common driveway easement, and approval from the Suffolk County Department of Health Services.
And just to jump in, I should probably do this for all of the public hearings or all the wrap-up memos. I got the transcript posted in December, and the 7 days has run, so that requirement is been met.
Thank you, Thomas. Okay, so Marco, did you have anything else? That was it?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, Mr. Kurtz.
No, I have nothing else either.
Very good. In that case, Lou, it's yours. Question is it ready for approval?
Yeah, I think it's, there's not much else to say. We kicked this around pretty good, and I believe it's ready for approval, ready to go.
Okay, then let's do it this way. Does anyone say it's not ready for approval? Any board members say it's not ready for approval? In that case, All those in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, and seeing everyone here, 7-0. Thank you very much. Okay, the next one is new singular wireless at Town Hall. And I think, Joanne, you're covering this one?
Yes, I am, and I'm gonna share my screen here. In front of me. All right, are you seeing that site plan?
Not yet.
We were for a second, Joanne, then it went away.
Okay.
There it is.
All right, it's gotta be on the other side, okay. All right, this is an application to modify an existing personal wireless service facility by adding a 12 by 4 foot concrete pad to support a natural gas generator for emergency purposes.
Joanne, let me just stop you for 1 second. Is the applicant on the line?
Matt Lindbaum for the applicant is online. I did not have video.
Okay, well, thank you for being here, and we can continue on. Thank you very much. Go ahead, Joanne.
The parcel is owned by the town of East Hampton and contains the main town hall complex situated on Pantago Road, the CI zoning district. The parcel is completely cleared. This is a type 2 action under SECRA. The applicants propose to add an emergency natural gas generator on a concrete pad at the base of an existing 150-foot tall lattice tower. The generator is to be natural gas rather than diesel or other liquid fuels, so spills will not be an issue. The proposed location of the general generator is well beyond the public view from Montauk Highway and generally will be well concealed behind the emergency services communications building. Sheet A, with regard to noise, sheet A06 of the submission contains the following notes regarding noise. Mechanical equipment shall be subject to the noise control requirement of section MC 928. And generator exercise must be set to weekdays during business hours. The application does not include information regarding noise that allows for a determination as to whether the project complies with section 185-3 of the town code with sound not exceeding 70 dBA between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. and 55 decibels between 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. at the property line. It's recommended that the applicant submit a manufacturer's brochure for the generator that includes noise specifications and information as required regarding noise levels at the property line. The planning department has contacted the East Hampton Police Department's communications technician to verify that the location and design of the proposed generator is satisfactory, and he has informed the planning department that the proposed project is acceptable. This application will be referred to the Architectural Review Board for comment, and that their approval will be a condition of approval. As a tier 2 application, it qualifies as a minor site plan, meaning that the board may elect to waive the public hearing. It's noted that the board waived the requirement for the previous modification application. So in conclusion, this is the overall site plan, and here is a close-up. This is if you can see my arrow, that's the tower, the triangle, and there is currently one generator, from what I can tell, located in this square, and then within the fence, there's a generator in this area, and the new generator is going approximately here. And the property line is, 10 to 15 feet away. It's not shown on the previous site plan of the overall site, and it's not on the close-up, so I can't really tell, but in any case, we normally get the applicant to give us the noise decibel level at the property line. So in conclusion, we recommend that the information regarding the noise ordinance be provided and the board should discuss whether to waive the public hearing.
Very well. Thank you, Joanne. Does the applicant have anything he wishes to add?
Yes, I do believe I did provide the generator specifications when the application was submitted with the full specifications, including the sound data. We have not run a noise study, but given the fact that there is 2 existing generators in the same location, the generator that's being proposed is a smaller generator. I don't think that the sound would be as affected because there are already existing emergency generators there.
Well, we can recheck the file to see if that information's in there before.
Joanne, did you have anything else on that?
You want me to? I can check the file right now if you want, or.
Well, why don't we, if the applicant doesn't have anything else they want to add, why don't you let, this is Kathy, this is yours? Why don't you unmute?
I'm just wondering, I'm sorry, I have another question.
Sure.
Regarding the ARB. I'm just not following what the reasoning is behind that. I'll tell my client, what it is. I'm not, objecting to it, but they're going to ask me why. So I want to be able to explain to them.
It's not specifically exempted in the town code. The town code exempts certain site plans from ARB approval, and this one is not one of the ones listed as being, a generator is not one of the ones listed as being exempt.
Okay.
You ready for me, Sam?
Yeah, well, if the applicant doesn't have any other questions or comments, I should make sure of that before we go on to you, Kathy. Does the applicant? Hello?
No, I don't have any other further questions.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Kathy, take over, please.
Okay, sure, thanks. I don't have any, I have a couple of questions. I don't have an objection to this in principle because as the applicant notes, there are 2 other generators there, but it raises the issue for me, even though this is on town property and these other generators have been in place, why each, and maybe the applicant can answer this question for me, I don't know, but why each cell company has to have its own generator, an emergency generator, because the presumption is that it's all on the same piece of equipment, and if that fails, it would fail to all of them. It just seems redundant and especially noisy if there is an emergency, a power outage where these generators would have to be running, full time to power these antenna and the other equipment necessary to maintain the cell signal. Is it just that everybody has their own thing, or is there a, do each of the systems require a separate energy source?
So it's often a case of there are liability issues. If somebody's generator has an issue and the power goes out, who's responsible for what?
Okay.
And then there's also the issue. So let's just say that there's 3 generators there. There's one, it's a little further away, that big square box, which I believe is the town's generator. It's a little further out on the side there. Let's say that's producing 100 decibels, right? If AT&T's generator is at 50, it doesn't make it 150 decibels. It's just still 100, like the louder thing.
Well, yes, I understand that. Yeah, I understand that. I'm just talking about as a practical matter, I don't think it matters that much for this particular application, but I'm just trying to learn a little more about, if it's a liability issue, I understand that. The generator can't be at 100 decibels. That's like really,
No,
really
I'm not
loud.
saying that. I was just using that as an
Yeah, no,
example.
I get it. I get it. I happen to know a lot about decibels, which is, you know, that's okay. I get it. But it's your understanding that it's a liability issue in terms of
And
backup energy for the equipment. Is that right?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and there are cases where AT&T does share a generator, but
Okay.
not always with another carrier.
Right.
They tend to like to have their own equipment. They
Yeah.
share them with
Yeah.
other landlords.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
you know, it would,
I get it. It's just, it's, you know, as we, our town is in the process of, you know, reassessing its wireless master plan. And this is just an issue that I think is, you know, something we should begin to consider in terms of, as cell towers go in and as other companies go on to these towers, we're going to have the same problem, you know, with generators in other areas of the town. And I just wanted to hear from you, which you were gracious enough to explain what you thought the incentive was. So anyway, so maybe something creative can be worked out going forward. But for this one, I'm in a little bit of a quandary because for us to deem the application complete, it has to have all the information. Now, I understand that you, the applicant, feel that the noise cut sheets have, the noise information has been submitted, but the memo that I have says that it hasn't been.
Okay.
I'm inclined to waive the public hearing because, you know, I don't think anybody's going to come out and talk about this one. It's generally speaking, I don't waive the public hearing, but if the
Kathy, I think Joanne has information.
Yeah,
oh,
thank you. Joanne, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I have a generator spec sheet here, and that's where what I see about noise is the notes that were in the memo. Generator exercise must be set 10 weekday, 2 weekdays during business hours. It's very printed in a very light fashion, so it's possible that there's something on here, but I'm not seeing decibel levels.
okay. Well, we'll need that then. So we can't deem the application complete until we have the decibel levels, because if it exceeds the code, then we got to do mitigation. And, you know, I would ask the applicant to please resubmit that or make sure that the, excuse me, the information that they submit, I mean, I'm not asking for a noise study. We just need to know what the decibel level, what the output is to the property line, so it conforms to our code requirements. And then if it exceeds that, then well, you know, it might be useful to expedite the application to consider mitigation because these are just numbers. It's easily understood. But that I don't honestly see how we can approve it tonight if it's not a complete application. Much as I'd be inclined to do that, but without that information, I don't think we can. We can't approve it.
okay, I don't have what I submitted in front of me right now.
Okay.
I would think that I would have included that information in the entire package.
Right.
But if you're saying you don't have it, can I email it to you or?
Well,
We
you can.
can't accept it at the meeting. You can certainly submit it and we can put it back on.
Yeah, we'll get it back on as soon as we can. But if you can communicate with the planning board secretary, Jody Walker, she'll give you the protocol on how to submit it. And that way it'll be part of the file and hopefully the planning department will get a chance to look at it and make sure everything is compatible. And then if it's not, there's another step there, but I think you could, it might be worth saving some steps if you get the information and it's clear that it doesn't meet our noise standards, that you could consider noise mitigation.
If you give me 1 second, I'll look up what it is. Hold on 1 second.
We're gonna need it in writing.
Oh, I think the protocol for us here is usually for you to submit information that the planning department doesn't have to the file. And then they can review it rather than doing it in the moment.
Yeah, I mean,
I appreciate that, but I think we need to move on. Thomas, do you agree with that?
yeah, I would say, if you submit it, tomorrow or whatever, we can look at it and have it on for the next meeting. I
We can get back to you and tell you if there's any additional information or changes that we need.
Yeah, and, the board can discuss at the next meeting, waiving, determining whether it's complete and whether to waive the public hearing at that point, I think is probably the best course.
I agree.
Okay, so let me ask you, while I get that information to you, should I, because you are going to require ARB, should I now gather those deliverables also and make that submission?
Yes, I would do that with, oftentimes these things are done simultaneously, but I would do that soon,
Absolutely.
as soon as possible.
Yes, well, I'll make sure then I'll get that application, I'll bring it all out and I'll file everything. And if you don't have the sound data, I will drop that off. I'm 99% sure that it was included in that package, but it could have been missed.
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate your cooperation with that.
Thanks very much.
Can I ask a question? Sorry.
Certainly.
Lou, is that you?
Yeah,
All right.
just quickly, it's not making sense to me that the decibel level is only the level of the loudest generator when you have multiple generators. That adding a generator, making it a third generator, the fact that you're adding another one to two existing generators that are making noise, that alone does not raise the decibel level. Am I missing the science? Or in other words, if there were 100 generators, you mean to tell me the highest decibel would be the decibel level of the loudest generator and not the fact that there's 100 of them making noise?
You're right. This is assuming you're not all running at once. So.
Yeah, exactly. This is, I mean, they run them only to do a test. I mean, they run them if there's an emergency, but they only run them if there's to do a test. And I'm sure that they can be scheduled.
Oh, okay.
But they're not running.
So they're not running at the same time.
No,
Okay.
no, they're emergency.
No,
generators.
but I think the important point of this is that they could be in an emergency. During Superstorm Sandy, when we had Ed just had a power outage with that crazy nor'easter we had, didn't have power for a couple of days up in Springs. They could be on for several days in a row. There's no question about that. I think what the applicant is saying is that because there's three in proximity to one another, that the loudest one is going to be what is most audible to your ear. It doesn't mean that you won't hear the lower decibel output of the other machines, but and there could be a resonance. I mean, I don't know, if you have to run three generators, 24 hours a day for 3 days, I'm sure it'll be thunderous, which is why I was suggesting that at some point, there might be value in, especially with these cell towers, and them all running off one, because if we have cell towers going around town in different residential areas, it would be useful.
All right, but right now, for the purposes of this conversation, the applicant's going to get us the noise data, and we can take up this at our next meeting when we have it in front of us and we know what's involved.
Right. Yeah, I was just responding to Lou.
I mean, the worst, what you're talking about is during an emergency that they might all be running. So, I mean, it's a different.
Yeah, but
that's a different consideration. But let's move on. If nobody has any,
Sam, this is the first time we've seen this, right?
No,
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 no.
I don't remember this one.
yeah, no, this is
This is at Town Hall. This is at,
the big one. Go
Yeah.
back. Come on.
so
would say
anyway,
next time if we were at Town Hall, but we're not.
I agree with Kathy that the applicant's saying that in some cases they do share. I think we should ask them to approach the other generator owners and see if they can share. Why not? Why wait to start?
Is that something the applicant can do?
I think so. I
No,
mean,
I'm
I
asking
think
the applicant.
I know you have a town, the town has a generator. Do you have additional service available for AT&T?
It's a good question.
well, that's knowable. We could find out, couldn't we?
Maybe you can find, maybe when you make the additional submission, you can make a couple of inquiries out here about it.
Well,
and see if that's viable.
the planning department should be able to steer you to the right people in Town Hall that run that generator.
Maybe next time we can, when the matter comes up next time, we can see if that's viable. If it is, then, maybe it's something that the applicant can mention at the next time it's before us.
We can look into that tomorrow and try to get an answer on
Yeah,
it.
and I was wrong, Randy. This is the first we've seen this.
Of this application?
Yeah, this one, this is for this generator.
Oh,
The first, it's come before the board. I think it's been,
this is, because this tower's been before us.
Yeah,
oh yeah, but this
Yeah,
is the
yeah.
generator. This is a modification to that. We've probably seen the tower, but this is different.
Okay. Anybody else? Any
It's
other?
also less fuel, it's less fuel tanks, it's less exhaust.
Well, there is no fuel tank. This is a diesel. I mean, it's
thought it was
a natural
propane.
gas, not diesel.
I thought it was
Natural
propane.
What's the fuel?
It's
sorry,
propane,
what?
you said.
No, natural gas. It runs like from Keyspan
Okay.
or whatever your service provider is out there.
Yeah, well,
There's existing gas at the building.
Okay,
okay.
Huh?
but it is another source of exhaust. I don't know, it just makes sense to put them all together.
I couldn't agree more. And anyway, it's just another.
If it's viable,
Yes, of course.
It may not be for technical reasons, it may not be for business reasons. It's something that the applicant's gonna look into.
Yeah, but it should be explored if it's a possibility because, there'd be a savings in a number of capacities, I think, and the environmental impacts would be huge.
All right. Thank you, everybody. We'll move on now to the next one, which is yet another tower. Verizon at 106 Stephen Hans Path. And Marco, this is yours. Go right ahead. Marco?
Yeah, can I share screen, please, Joanne?
or yes, I'll get out.
Is the applicant on? I see Ms. Vista, you there?
Yes, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you.
Okay, so an application has been made for a new personal wireless service facility consisting of a new 110-foot AGL stealth monopole containing 8 interior mounted panel antennas, a 10-foot by 17-foot, 170 square foot concrete pad with a canopy to situate electrical equipment on, an emergency propane generator with a 250-gallon tank, all to be situated on a 1,353 square foot fenced-in compound, along with a new gravel access road, lighting, and revegetation. The subject parcel is situated in Wainscott. It is zoned A5 residence with a water recharge overlay district designation. It is owned by the town of East Hampton and contains maintenance and storage facilities in the East Hampton Town Highway Department. The property is also situated in a number of areas unique for groundwater protection, including Suffolk County designated Pine Barrens and the South Fork Special Groundwater Protection Area. There are expansive areas of freshwater wetlands to the immediate west and partially on the subject parcel. Previously, the planning department had noted that the light fixture for the canopy equipment area should not exceed 12 watts and it can be repositioned as to be not full cutoff. The lighting plan has been revised the specific light fixture to be full cutoff at all times and corrected their wattage notation. The applicants have submitted a radio frequency engineer's report dated August 3rd, 2020, which verifies that the proposed facility will meet FCC standards. The applicants have submitted a determination of no hazard to air navigation from the Federal Aviation Administration. A public hearing was held electronically by video and teleconferencing, televised on local TV, LTV, Channel 22, made available for live stream on the LTV website December 2nd, 2020. A transcript of the hearing was posted to the town's website after the hearing, and the hearing was to remain open until January 2nd, 2020 for the purpose of receiving written comments. No members of the public spoke at the hearing, and 8 emails were received from the members of the public expressing their support for the proposal. Comments from the fire marshal dated December 13th, 2020 have found the submitted information sufficient or not relevant to necessitate further review for fire protection purposes. In conclusion, provided the board agrees, the application is ready for approval. Conditions of approval is approval from the ARB.
Hey, thank you very much, Marco. Ms. Vista. There you are.
Real quick, Sam, I posted, or had the transcript posted to the town website in December, and the 7 days has passed, so we've met that requirement.
Okay, thank you. Yes, we're going to have to make sure that we keep a record on that, as long as we're doing it this long distance way. So, okay, thank you, Ms. Vista. Go right ahead. The floor is yours.
I do not have any further comments.
Very good. In that case, Ed, are you there? I see your name.
I'm here. Yeah.
All right. Well,
yeah.
we don't see your name, Ed. We don't see you.
You don't see me.
No.
Oh, well, there you go.
Okay. Well,
now you do, I bet.
not quite. So I see. There we go.
Okay.
Cool.
All right. Well, all that to say that I really don't have much more comment. I'd like to thank the applicant, though, for being patient with us through this whole process. They've, they've kind of adapted their plan to meet kind of our requests. I think it's a great project. I'm pleased that as many people spoke in favor of it after the public hearing as did, submitted letters to that effect. I think it's a great project. I think it's ready to go. No further comment from me.
All right. In that case, I guess we can just run through the question. Most of the questions seem to have been answered in the. I'm sorry. Before I go to questions, does anybody else have anything they wish to add, question, comments with respect to this application?
Not me.
No.
Kathy? No, none around. Okay. All right. So the sidewalks.
No, that's 92 Euclid you're looking at.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Thank you. Thank you.
There's one question.
Yeah, I know. Is it ready? Is it ready?
Yes.
Thank you, Ed. Do we all agree that it's ready for approval?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Is anyone else having breakup of their sound?
No. Can you hear me?
Mike, I'm getting a breakup of the sound, Mike.
You're breaking up in your broadcasting, Randy. You're not coming through clearly. So
yeah, Randy, it's probably just your internet connection. Everyone else is functional.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right. So, all right. All those in favor of finding the application complete?
Aye.
Aye.
The opposed?
Hold on, it's been complete.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is it ready?
It's
Ready
been,
for approval?
It's approval.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, didn't need to mix up my vocabulary. Is the application ready for approval?
Yes.
Ready?
Yes.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, Thomas. Okay, in that case, 7-0, ready for approval? There we are.
now, we had the resolution prepared. I think that's probably a topic for the regular meeting.
Get a look here. Hold on. Yes, we do. And so Ed, if you care to, let's,
I don't think I have a copy of that resolution. No.
I do.
I have.
Do you? All right. Well, Kathy,
I think Thomas sent it around earlier today, right? Wasn't that the one
Right.
Yeah.
we wrote? Yeah. Verizon Wireless at 106 Stevenhams Path.
Kathy, you want to do it?
Sure, I'm happy to do it if Ed doesn't mind. Application of the matter of Verizon Wireless at 106 Stevenhams Path, personal wireless service facility, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-193-2-4. Site plan special permit approval with the listed conditions of approval, including that of the ARB. I read the resolution and move for its adoption.
Is there a second?
Second,
Thank you very much, Lou. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed and carried, 7-0. Okay.
Great. Thank you all very much.
Now you've had a good night.
Oh, Thomas.
Have a nice evening.
All right, thanks all.
Added away.
Okay, now, and Ed, thank you for keeping my agendas here straight. 92 South Euclid. And Marco, go right ahead.
I believe the applicant's here though, right?
Oh, I need to just say something that the applicant's representative is my son-in-law, and I feel that I can be fair and objective in evaluating this application.
Okay, and do I see the applicant? There he is. There's Andrew. Okay, hello, Andrew.
Hi there, guys.
I should say that just in case anybody was wondering, it was this application which led to the policy which was announced this evening. And again, thanks to the applicant for pointing this issue out and highlighting it. I think that the new policy going forward is going to be beneficial for everyone.
Great.
Okay, Marco, go right ahead. Yours.
So this has been before the board before. So this is an application that has been proposed to construct a 2-story, 1,316 square foot commercial building with an apartment. The site is located on a vacant lot in downtown Montauk under the Central Business Zoning District. A 1,080 square foot first floor dry retail, a 1,107 square foot second floor apartment, and a 960 square foot basement has been proposed. So the applicant has withdrawn a previous site plan from March 2004. The applicant has clarified that the building will be intended for 2 retail uses in the future. It would be reasonable to assume that the proposed wall in the middle of the retail space will be eventually built. For some reason, I don't have the floor plans, unfortunately, up here. But before there was a dotted line through the middle of the first floor, and the concern was if there will be, if that wall will be built. And the response is that it's reasonable to assume that that wall in the middle of the retail space will be built for 2 uses in the future. The planning department had suggested that the proposed plan specify the use of pink tinted concrete along South Euclid Avenue to match the adjoining properties as recommended by the Downtown Montauk Central Business Study. The site plan should be revised to include the notation that the sidewalks shall be tinted pink, similar to other properties in downtown Montauk. The previous issue of sidewalk placement was discussed in the previous planning board meeting, where the planning department had noted that the sidewalks on South Euclid Avenue have not been designed or built consistently. A summary of the current design and layout is located at the end of this topic discussion. The planning department had recommended that the subject site and the vacant site to the west should be developed consistently with the Kazura site, so as to provide consistency in the size and location of parking spaces and sidewalks for the middle 3 parcels of the block. As a reminder, the Beckman site plan located to the east could be adjusted to conform to others should the site plan expire and fail to be constructed. So the eastern part is Beckman, which is where my mouse is. The middle one is the subject site. In between the subject site and Kazura, which is over here, is a vacant parcel, but should that be built, it should have sidewalks that line up as it is currently proposed right now. Kazura is already was already constructed. So the applicant has revised the placement of the sidewalk along South Euclid Avenue to be beyond the property line to match the placement of an existing sidewalk located on a nearby lot, Kazura, as was recommended by the planning department. The following below is a summary of the current design as mentioned during the board's second review. I'm just going to skip that portion since it's pretty lengthy, but if someone wants me to elaborate on it, I can. But moving forward, the applicant has proposed 3 parking spaces in the right-of-way along South Euclid Avenue, which will require a parking variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals and approval from the Superintendent of Highways. The applicant should also specify the type of pavement to be used for the parking spaces. It is noted that the proposed parking spaces within the right-of-way will mirror the existing conditions on neighboring properties, as mentioned before, because they're in Beckman. There are an additional 4 parking spaces located in the rear of the property in an existing alleyway owned by the town. The applicant will be responsible for ensuring proper access and improvements to the back alleyway as has been required for neighboring buildings. The applicant has submitted a request for a variance for 3 parking spaces in the right-of-way to the Zoning Board of Appeals. The Planning Board may wish to provide comments to the Zoning Board of Appeals regarding the proposed spaces. If the applicant obtains this variance, the 7 spaces required by the town code will be provided. So the applicant has proposed side yard setbacks that do not meet town code. The easterly side is proposed to be 3 feet from the property line, whereas a setback of 10 feet is required. So the applicant has referenced the property 801 Montauk Highway located to the south as being constructed with a 3-foot side yard setback on the easterly side, identical to the applicant's proposal. So highlighted here is 801 Montauk Highway, and it's a little bit hard to see, but this is just an aerial of it. They have less than 10-foot side yard setback for 801 Montauk Highway. However, when the building at 801 Montauk Highway was constructed in 2014, there was a building at 805 Montauk Highway that had been constructed to the property line, which is the one next door. Therefore, Section 255-11-10 of the Town Code permitted lesser setbacks when the building at 801 Montauk Highway was constructed. It should be noted that when the building at 805 Montauk Highway was constructed, right to each of its side property lines in 1970, Section 500 of the zoning ordinance, the applicable code requirement at the time, did not require any side yard setback requirements for this property. The applicant has submitted a request for a variance for side yard setback relief to the Zoning Board of Appeals. The Planning Board should provide comments to the Zoning Board of Appeals regarding this issue. Comments from the Fire Marshal dated August 4th, 2020 have found the submitted information sufficient and no improvements for firefighting protection are required. The applicant's lighting plan has 6 proposed light fixtures, although the plans have illustrated 5 light fixtures. Let me see. I forgot to bring it up. Sorry. Just give me a second. Nope, that's not the right one. Fortunately, I don't have it up at this moment, but for the applicant's knowledge, the light fixture labeled B1 is noted to be ceiling mounting. However, the height is unclear as it is stated to be both 6 foot high and 11 foot high. In addition, only 3 of the B1 fixtures are illustrated when 4 are stated to be proposed. The fixtures will be used by the first floor commercial business and will be shut off half an hour after the close of business. The plan states that both B1 and B2 fixtures will be model 3381 4. However, 2 different models are displayed. It appears that one of the models is intended to be for the B1 ceiling mounted fixtures. It is recommended that the applicant submit manufacturer's specification sheets for the proposed fixtures and address the previously mentioned discrepancies. It appears that the fixtures are fully shielded and below the maximum lumen levels as recommended by the town. It is unclear if the fixtures will be 3000 Kelvin, which is the maximum level allowed, and how far in measurements of foot candles would the fixtures illuminate the property. The applicant has submitted a landscaping plan. It consists of plantings around the foundation of the building and a street tree at the front and back along the alleyway. The planning board may wish to discuss if this plan is sufficient. In conclusion, the applicant has submitted plans that have revised their sidewalk, lighting, and landscaping. The applicant has also submitted an application to the Zoning Board of Appeals requesting relief for parking in the right-of-way and lessened setbacks. The planning board should discuss if they find the revised plans satisfactory and may wish to provide comments to the Zoning Board of Appeals regarding the applicant's parking in the right-of-way and lessened setbacks.
Okay. And Mrs. Strong, anything you would like to add, say, and talk?
The reason our objective tonight is to get the planning board's comments because we've made a submission to the ZBA for the side yard variance and for the parking variances, and we received a NOI, a notice of incomplete, back, which effectively stated that they're waiting for the planning board to give their comments on this site plan. So in order to expedite this application on a global level, we're hoping to get the comments back from this board as quickly as possible so we can give them to the ZBA and we can move forward with our ZBA application. So that's my objective tonight. I don't have too much else to say other than, I do strongly disagree with the planning department's interpretation of the town code with respect to the side yard setbacks. We are still going to the ZBA because that is the most direct way, I think, to resolve this. And I'm disappointed with the lack of transparency that led to 3 different requests being made to the building department and the 6-month delay that caused. And I appreciate the policy change that was, that looks like it's being implemented as a result of that. But with respect to the buildings, 805 and 803 and their history with the zoning code, to me, those are issues that are probably better addressed at the zoning board, where we've already made the application, and we'll be putting forward the facts as we see them, and then we'll be back in front of this board with a determination from the zoning board.
Very well, thank you. Sharon, this is yours.
Yes, hi. And I just first want to apologize to Mr. Strong about all the confusion that occurred on this with the building department. That I can tell he's frustrated, and hopefully moving forward, we can make it a better process for everyone. I think the plan has, been much improved through this whole process. The sidewalk issue has been resolved, and the lighting, I think, will be resolved. I'm sure Marco and Thomas can work together to figure out how to clear those plans up. One of the other questions was the landscape, which I believe is sufficient just based on how small this property is. There was just some, plantings around the foundation and a couple of trees, but it's a pretty tight property. So I do believe that I'm satisfied with that. And in terms of just making comments to the zoning board, I'm not sure. I think you have enough information to make your case to them here. And my comments would be that I'm not opposed to the side yard setback necessarily. And I think the parking is something that, is taken precedence. It's been done before, and I don't think the parking variance will be a big problem. You'll just have to argue the 3-foot setback instead of 10. But, I'm not sure how we feel about being completely, on board with that, or just allowing them to make their decision based on, the information that you're going to give them, and showing other properties in Montauk that have, similar situations. But overall, I think the plan is fine the way it is. You just need to get zoning board to clear that up for you.
Okay, thanks. We have a number of questions on this. Before we go into those questions, does anyone have any specific comments or questions? Or if you don't, then maybe the conversation that we have can be structured around the questions that the planning department memo presented to us.
I have a question about the parking.
Go ahead, Lou.
I think Ian first brought this up, and I think it's a good point. I'm very familiar with South Euclid. I drive on that street quite often. And I know how tight it is between the two sides of the street. And, up until now, there really hasn't been any parking because these properties, this being one of them, have been undeveloped. And so this is a question more than a comment, although I do want to emphasize again that the point that Ian made about cars turning onto South Euclid from Essex. If you could put that over.
Yeah, I'm working on it. Just give me a second.
I'm wondering, the question, Andrew, are there specified areas that need to have a certain distance between parked cars on one side of the street and parked cars on the other side of the street in order to allow a smooth, safe passage of traffic on that street?
Typically in downtown Montauk, the plan is to have the perpendicular parking up to the edge of the right-of-way, of the traveled right-of-way. So it's maybe 10 or 12-foot lanes on either side with perpendicular parking directly adjoining to it, like you see in Sag Harbor Village, and you see not in East Hampton Village, but Sag Harbor Village has that. And there are other places in downtown Montauk that have that. That's consistent with the overall downtown Montauk plan that was established quite a number of years ago.
So what we see here, the parking, those cars that are parked there, and that area, if you continue east along that parking area, that area goes right up to the right-of-way, which is what is legally allowed?
Well, it's in the right-of-way, but it goes right up to the traveled right-of-way, the lanes.
Right.
That is what the plan for this area was.
Okay, and that's sufficient enough space for the traffic to travel on that road without, and when people are pulling out and so forth, when people are turning from Essex Street onto South Euclid, because that other property, when it gets developed, the corner property is going to have the same parking area.
You're going to have to keep the parking back away from the corner. That's we'll have to have an engineer look at that. Actually, that was an approved site plan, so I'm not sure where that stands, but this was designed and engineers had input into this many years ago, the downtown Montauk plan.
Okay, I was just, it's just a question that I had.
So, all right. And
I actually,
Yeah,
I
go
was
ahead.
going to mention that in the questions, but since we're talking about it now, I don't want to pull the applicant in a million different directions. I realize that the planning department and maybe the board agreed that this was the better sidewalk alignment. But if you look further west, the sidewalk actually then goes in from the travel right away. So it's not straight, regardless, if you look at this full block. And I do think we have to consider sight lines in addition to aesthetics here. I'm okay to go along with this based on the planning department's recommendations. I do have one question. Did we have the highway superintendent look at this? I think we brought that up last time too.
We I haven't mentioned it in the last memo. We mentioned the superintendent of highways for a different application that's located nearby, and so this is.
For which I'm the applicant as well.
Well, I do think that we should always include the highways, the highway superintendent whenever we're talking about right-of-ways, because I think that safety is a concern. Now, my comment, I believe I felt more strongly about a property across the street based on the fact that we drive on the right-hand side of the road. I think that's a more dangerous situation coming off of Essex. But still, I think that, if you're pulling in head in and you can back up a couple of feet, you have a much better view than if you're slightly behind the cars to see what's happening behind you, rather than being right up against the traveled lane. So I don't want to make an issue of this, because I do think if we have 7 different opinions and we can't agree, the applicant can't do anything. But going forward, anytime that there's something in the right of way, I really do want to make sure that the highway superintendent weighs in on it right away, and that as a board and an department, we consider sight lines in addition to the aesthetics here. I think the problem becomes even worse, farther to the east. So if that, I think it's the Beckman property, it was mentioned in the memo that if that doesn't happen and it expires, we might push that sidewalk further to the road. I think the closer to that corner you get, the more problematic it is, even though this side of the road is less of a problem than the other based on the direction of travel.
But this does need this does need approval from the superintendent of highways.
Well, yeah, I know, but I just realized the applicant's been before us already. He's going to get a variance now based on our advice.
Right.
I would like, if there's going to be a problem from the superintendent of highways, I would like to get that out of the way, because frankly, we asked for this change as a group. The applicant did it, and now if the superintendent had a problem, I think that would be an inefficient process.
I think Ian makes a good point, and this is an issue that comes up time and again in Montauk particularly. So,
Why don't we have that be our comment to the zoning board, that the superintendent of highways thoughts should be obtained before anybody makes a decision on this.
Well, that's what I'm going to do. I think it's a good idea for us to focus our conversation, and let's go into the questions. And that, I think you'll see, Randy, that comes up. I think it's like the third one, so we can get into it then. All right. So first of all, does the planning board find the sidewalks as proposed satisfactory?
Yes.
Yes.
Agree on that?
Yes.
I don't. Well, I don't think I understand how. So they basically were just saying along South Euclid, they don't line up, and there's no way that they connect. Is that right?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that question?
Marco, the drawing that was just up shows this. It shows the sidewalk dead ends on the west side of the. I guess that's the former site. Wait a minute.
This is the east side.
The problem is really with the east side of this property that does not connect with lot next door, and it just is that what we're saying? We're accepting that it dead ends there, and there's no connection to the next lot.
Randy, that's a good point. The way this is laid out now, there really should be a little bit of a return. So it should connect like it connects on the west side. So there should be a little bit of a right angle turn there. So they do connect unless Beckman doesn't go forward, and then you would have the opportunity to actually line the sidewalks off. But if you don't want to line the sidewalks up in the future because of sight distance, then for sure you should have that sidewalk bend around so it meets up with the one to the east.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Is there a way to have, I mean, this might sound silly, but a sidewalk easement in case Beckman is developed? Because I do think we have to assume that an approved plan could be developed, and then we end up with this weird situation that Randy's pointing out where the sidewalks don't meet up. However, I would hate to make the applicant construct a sidewalk that then leads nowhere if it's not necessary. So is there a way to leave that open like we do sometimes with trails and such?
Sidewalk is distinct.
I'm not clear why do we think that the development of that lot to the east, even if it's not Beckman, is not going to ask for those parking spaces in the right of way? As long as those parking spaces are there, the sidewalks aren't going to line up.
Well, no, because I think that those spaces can be pushed back in just the same way, I think is the planning department's point. So the sidewalk then would line up across the property line.
Push back, what, you mean push further into the right of way?
Well, that's what we asked the applicant in this case. And I think that I think the assumption is that if Beckman property were being redeveloped, we would ask that sidewalk to be pushed further into the right of way, which is a strange concept, but I think that's what the planning department is saying.
We've redone this pursuant to the request from the last meeting so that it matched the site plans to the west.
To the west.
With the understanding, if you go to that satellite view, you can see where the sidewalk kind of jags, away from the buildings, about 2 lots down. You can see it coming off the public parking lot there. So you're kind of stuck one way or the other with. So right now it's built to tie in to that sort of existing sidewalk on the basis that it's existing. And I think you either tie it into that and require the site directly to the west to tie into that, or you're going to have a jog one way or the other.
Right now we don't show I think, Ian, I think that's an okay to have a sidewalk easement rather than building it if you want to keep the option open. I mean, right now we have an approved site plan to the east.
I don't want to do
so
it.
I could, yeah.
I would want to make sure that the applicant doesn't have an issue that they're creating a liability situation for themselves with this.
Yeah, that was one of the thoughts that
jumps out to
mind. Put a sidewalk across your property.
That jumps out to me, but
Well, I'm not sure I understand the point.
The sidewalk, if it's left incomplete or if it doesn't follow directly, I could understand that the applicant might have an issue with that.
But Sam, what I'm saying is that if we approve this as proposed, and then we have the property to the east that's already approved, and they're both developed, we literally have sidewalks that aren't connected, and that's problematic.
Yeah.
So the easement, I wasn't suggesting they don't construct the sidewalk across the entire width of their property. I'm saying that the sidewalk, there should also be the stated intention that if the sidewalk to the east is built, there's a chunk that cuts in so they can connect. Does that make sense?
That's. I think we're coming at the same problem just from different perspectives of what might go wrong. So,
well, all I'm saying is if we approve it without that, we literally are planning a sidewalk that doesn't connect, and that seems like poor planning.
I don't want that.
All they have to do is add that little 4-foot jog or to the.
Right, and what I was suggesting was that we make sure that there's an easement or something there. However, it might be silly to construct that if, in fact, as the planning department suggests, the property to the east, that sidewalk may eventually be pushed back out. I don't want to complicate things. I'm just trying to figure out ways to not build unnecessarily and make sure the plan is good.
What is the applicant think?
We want to connect the sidewalk too. You know, we're relying on foot traffic to come into the store. So we'd undertake to do that. I'm a little reticent to put an easement together just because of the time and cost of drawing it, getting it approved, going and filing it, getting it, then submitted back to the town. Just my back of the envelope. That's another 8 weeks.
But is that, Andrew, you're not going to build the sidewalk now? Is that what I'm hearing? There's no plan to construct the sidewalk?
He would have to build it to get the C of O for the building.
Yeah.
All right, so there is going to be a built sidewalk there that dead ends at the east property line.
Right.
Until that property is developed, it would seem to me, until Beckman develops their property, there's no place to go presently, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So once Beckman's sidewalk is developed, that would tie in.
Right.
And whether that's a condition of our CO approval or Beckman's seems to be just like a matter of it's an order of operations. Whoever's there first, has the next guy's got to tie in, right?
Well, the problem though, Andrew, and I'm sorry, you're probably right that an easement is too cumbersome of a tool. Yeah. But the problem is that the Beckman is already approved. And so there's a parking space where they would make that jog. So the only real option here is on your property. And I'd be fine if it was a condition of approval, just so that it was stated that we've thought about this, because otherwise I think it would make us look bad.
Yeah, I take that point, and I would be fine with that. If if the Beckman site goes forward and isn't withdrawn, before we're done with construction, we'll tie into it. If it doesn't move and we get built first, then
as long as it's taken care of. Ian, I don't know that it's bad plan. I don't know that it makes us look bad as much as it's bad planning. What I mean?
Well, we're the planning board, Sam.
Yeah, no, I know, but I want us to do good planning. So
yeah.
All right. So Andrew, that would be all right with you? A condition?
Yeah. We want to make that work. We don't want a sidewalk to nowhere.
Then good. Okay. Then we can approve.
What about just show it on the survey as something, Andrew? It doesn't have to be an easement, but propose future sidewalk connection. Okay.
That's fine.
Good idea.
Right, good. Okay, so all right, so we're good with that, right? So we can now move on to the more, the questions that I think the ZBA is going to be interested in. Does the planning board support or not support a variance for less than setbacks to 3 feet instead of the required 10 feet? And Sharon, can we start with you on that?
Yeah, I think what I was saying is I think they need to weigh in on, the zoning board will start looking at other properties and what already exists, and they'll take a little bit, closer look as to, precedent on something like this. I'm not heavily opposed to it. But I think, in terms of Andrew Strong making the case, for this particular thing and this only, it's up to him to show it to them, and it's up to them to look at what else exists out there in Montauk.
Okay, thanks.
That's a nice.
I think of myself, I agree with that. Does anyone else? Does anyone disagree with Sharon's take on that?
Nope. She put it perfectly.
Good.
Can we, Sam? Can we see?
Go ahead, Randy. Go ahead.
Can we see Beckman? Can we see Beckman again as approved? I just want to see what is the 3 foot. So right now, what is it? What is it there? I see a fence. Is that a fence along that line? So it'd be 3 feet. So you'll have this 3-foot space between the building and that looks like a fence next door. I don't know, what does the applicant see as that? Is that going to be mowed? Is it just going to be jungle? What's going to happen in that 3 feet?
Andrew?
Let me so I think it will probably.
Sorry, there's a landscaping plan that has depicted some sort of shrubs, certain shrubs to be there. So.
Okay.
In that particular gap.
So it'll be a block. It will not be a pathway to go to the back.
There's a pathway already on the other side.
Yeah. Okay. Well, So I don't really have a strong feeling about it one way or the other, frankly.
And you got 10 feet on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a 10-foot buffer on the Beckman property. So it's not like the two buildings are right up next to each other.
Right.
To me, that makes a difference.
Yeah, it does. I agree. I don't have any objections to the variance for the setback to 3 feet. I think it's relatively well designed considering the constraints.
Well, just to be clear, I agree that it should be a zoning board decision, and I'm sympathetic to the applicant here. The reason I would stop short of fully endorsing the variance is because I think the implication there is that we don't agree with the code as interpreted, and I'm not comfortable doing that. So I'm neither endorsing nor opposing the variance. I think that, as Sharon said, we should let the zoning board make the determination.
Well, isn't the variance?
If the question says specifically, does the planning board support or does not support a variance for the lessened setbacks to 3 feet? So the required 10. It's not, I asked this question earlier. We don't grant variances and we aren't being asked to relax the setbacks if we're going to ask what we think about the variances. So
right.
we say what we think or we don't answer the question, seems to me.
Well, 90% of the time, my answer is that we've looked at it. We think it's a zoning board decision and we want them to use their own standards and don't lean one way or the other. Typically,
that's fine, but that's not an answer to this question. So
I think we can answer it that way, Kathy.
We support it or we do not support it.
Well, the question is, do we support it or not support it? So,
right.
That's just a question we cooked up.
In that context, I'll put it I'll just run around the board and see. Do we support it? Do we support the variance being lessened to 3 feet instead of 10 feet? I'll start with Sharon. Let me start with Sharon.
Question we cooked up.
Randy, hold on. What are you saying, Randy?
That's a question that we cooked up. That's not in the code. There's nothing about the planning board weighing in on a variance.
That's correct.
Randy, could I just add? We got an NOI from the ZBA. We got a notice of incomplete because this question wasn't answered. So, we've already made this application, and if the zoning board or the planner responsible didn't want your input or didn't want a comment, I would assume they just would let us go forward with the application. The fact that they sent us back here, I think means that they're looking for something, some comment.
Well,
I like Ian.
Let me hear from Joanne. Let's hear from Joanne on this. Joanne, go ahead.
They're looking to know whether you have comments. If you have comments, what they are. I don't think that having no comment is. That's a comment. You have no comment. They're just giving you an opportunity for you to. The main reason was to get you to know whether you had any changes you were recommending to the site plan, so that the applicant doesn't go forward and get variances based on a site plan that you are going to recommend changes to. Mm-hmm. So if you're looking at the same plans, that was the main reason for going. Right. For getting the planning board to comment on the particular site plan.
That's right, Joanne. I think I remember that on zoning board. Yeah, they want to make sure that we're looking at a plan that we're okay with. I mean, can we just say that we're not opposed? I mean, it's not very clear, but we're not opposed to the variance.
Hold on, the zoning board has asked for comments. They're not, whether you say, I support it, I don't support it, apply your own standards, those are all comments.
And that's my point, is that we always should send comments so they know we've looked at the issue and tell them how we feel. I think that most of the time it's appropriate to say that you should use your standards. We don't feel strongly one way or the other, because sometimes we do. They know we've looked at it, we've given comments, and they do their work. I think that way 95% of the time.
All right, well, then basically you have support, don't support, or no comment.
It's not no comment though, Sam. It's that we've looked at it and neither oppose nor support it.
And would you say you have no objections to it?
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, why not?
Although I do think that leans at one
standards.
I like Ian's language.
Which is what?
We don't support or, use your own judgment is really what we're saying. Use your standards and your judgment.
Well,
I guess
I would be comfortable. Yeah, I think that's the best language. And I think that there should be we should come up with boilerplate language here.
And
so
use it every
time. Knows what we're saying, because this comes up all the time.
I agree with you. Ed, you had something?
I was just going to say that, if I were putting the language together, I would say that we support an application for a variance for parking in the right of way.
But doesn't that imply that you support the request that the applicant's making?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I think supporting the application.
It means we don't have a strong objection. We support them applying for this variance, and the board, the ZBA, applying their standards.
Okay, so we support them.
maybe they want.
Yes.
We don't support the application.
No,
we
making
the applicant. Okay, well then that's fine, because that puts it into the ZBA's capable hands.
Yeah.
So that's fine. All right, so is that the comment then? Did I just trip over it, that we support, or Ed actually did? That we support them?
I don't think so. No, because this building could be made smaller and meet the code. And we don't have any role really saying we think they should have a larger building. I mean, I think we should stay out of it. I think what we're saying is that we would be willing to approve this site plan either with or without the 3-foot, variance.
And
that's really.
I think
that's sort of the same thing though, Randy, but okay.
Same thing as saying we have no objections to this particular.
Exactly.
Any of those versions of this.
Without the variance, how is that not, and I feel like this is such a
we're wordsmithing this
rhetoric.
Well, no, we don't. They don't want to go through the process of getting a variance and then have us deny the site plan.
Right.
No, we don't want that.
Okay, so we don't object to the variance.
Right. I think if you don't object to the applicant making the variance, making an application for the variance.
All right, sorry, Kathy, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm just going to say, I think the most productive way to do this is not to sit here and have everyone argue about 7 different versions, is maybe I think the board's had a decent discussion about it. Sam, if you want to, if you feel like you have a consensus around a certain idea, I think as the chair, we could leave it to your judgment to summarize that idea succinctly for the zoning board.
Yeah, Jody, I think that maybe the way we want to say it is that the planning board does not object to the application for a variance. Is anybody horrible with that?
I think it's fine.
Fine.
I'm not going to argue you here, Sam, but I think we have to have a better way of saying it. Leans it one way and not the other. So
I don't. You see, I'm trying to drive it down the middle of the road there, and I think that's about as middle as I can get it.
Yeah.
Don't object to them making the application for the variance.
Yep.
Then at that point, it's up to the ZBA. So Jody, just give me a wave that you got that. There you go. All right.
Mhm.
Okay, we'll go through this again now on the question of, does the planning board support a variance for parking in the right of way? And
I think we
Karen.
can say the exact same thing. I think we do not object.
now that
That's
we-
That's the way I
something-
feel.
Yeah, no. Does anyone disagree with that?
Well, in the past, you've supported all the variances
Yeah.
for parking in the right of way because
Right.
you don't want to force the parking to go on the property and
No.
Yeah, I think we actively support that.
Yeah.
I
I'm
agree.
okay
Well,
with
I personally have some questions about that. I think as a whole, and the process has led us to support it. The one caveat I would say is that, so long as the highway superintendent supports it. I know he has to approve it.
I'm with Ian on that.
I
I'm
agree.
with Ian on that.
Right. Good way of putting it. I agree.
Yeah, so, all right, so we support the application provided that, for a variance, provided that the highway superintendent is supportive of it too.
Exactly.
Everybody?
Yep.
Anybody say no? Okay. All right. I love this next one. Does the planning board wish to send the comments to the to the ZBA after all of that?
Done.
Yes, I'm going to say yes. Does the applicant amend the lighting plan to include the manufacturer's spec sheet, correct number of lights, proposed mounting height, and other details outlined in the memo? I don't think anyone's going to say no. And finally, should the applicant provide plans detailing the color of the sidewalk and the type of pavement pavement for parking? I don't know about that sentence structure, but
Sorry, that might be a little bit of a typo.
that's all right. We all agree on that, right?
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Strong, you got what you came for. All right,
Just like that. Yeah.
yeah, just like that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's funny.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody. I agree with you. We have to come up with some linguistic template that we can live with for the rest of eternity. All right, next, East Hampton House Pool Site Plan. Is the applicant here on that one? Is this Miss Wilshire's applicant?
This is, yes.
It was.
Is she not here?
I sent her the link today. I haven't heard from her though. So
What do you say? Do we go
I'd
forward?
say move on to the next and we'll check back and see if she appears.
Okay, well, it seems like it's a wrap-up memo anyway, so, all right, we don't have a lot to cover. All right, next is ARF.
That one, that one's adjourned.
That one got adjourned, yes, we adjourned.
One is adjourned. ARF.
Postponed.
Got adjourned. Well,
Postponed.
it got postponed. There was a last-minute request, but we're okay with that. That's also a wrap-up memo, so. Next one is Acrobatic Grove, and I'm going to recuse myself. I'm not going to be in Acrobatic Grove, but I will be blank that.
You're,
Okay.
Not
you're
yet.
gonna end up there? No.
Out of your.
I'm gonna keep the mute on. I'll keep the noise on, but you won't see.
The noise. Hey, come on.
Oh, the conversation.
Okay, Marco, would you lead us through the Acrobatic Grove Cemetery Expansion number 2 site plan, please?
Yes.
Is the applicant on the line?
Yes, I'm Stan Weaver. I'm here.
Oh, good. Hey, Dan.
Hello.
Okay, all right, so the subject, 374,997 square foot parcel is utilized as a cemetery currently containing 1,178 plots. The application is made for a second expansion to consist of an increase of 369 plots, consisting of 319 standard and 60 cremation plots, with 10 plots to be abandoned, resulting in a total number of 1,547 plots. The subject parcel is zoned A5 residence and is within the Acrobatic Harbor Critical Environmental Area. The parcel is part of an oak woodland that is partially cleared of natural vegetation and contains lawn and artificial ponds. It is surrounded by residential property and preserved open space. So a public hearing was held electronically by video and teleconferencing, televised on LTV, Channel 22, was made available for live stream on the LTV website December 9th, 2020. A transcript of the hearing was posted to the town's website after the hearing. The hearing was to remain open until January 8th, 2021 for the purpose of receiving written comments. 2 members of the public spoke at the hearing by phone. The first caller, Nicholas Kraus, inquired if an environmental review was conducted due to the high water table. The caller had also had concerns regarding potential increased traffic and increased parking due to the cemetery expansion. The caller had noted that due to the lack of GPS signals and signage in the area, incoming visitors have conducted U-turns onto private properties to find the cemetery. The second caller, Patrice Dalton, had stated that standing water has been an issue in the local area and requested that a scenic easement be proposed to prevent additional clearing and worsening the standing. And to prevent additional clearing and the worsening of the standing water issue. A written email by the same caller was submitted to the file December 29th, requesting the implementation of a rain garden and reduced standing water near Old Stone Highway and additional native plantings along the applicant's driveway for screening and local wildlife. The applicant, Dan Weaver, had commented in response to the second caller, stating that a scenic easement had been proposed that would inhibit the cemetery from future expansions. It is noted that the elevations in the area of the additional plots range from 18 feet to 20 feet, with groundwater found at approximately 3 to 4 feet. I'm not sure if that's 3 to 4 feet. The applicant, the Jewish Center of the Hamptons, submitted a letter stating that autopsies and the use of embalming fluid is forbidden by Jewish faith. This practice will prevent the entry of embalming fluids into ground and surface waters. A special permit standard for a cemetery requires that lawn areas be planted with drought-tolerant grasses to minimize the need for irrigation and the use of fertilizers that could impact groundwater and surface waters. This was a condition of the previous site plan approvals that will be for the subject application as well. The applicant has also agreed to utilize a sprinkler system that will only operate 3 months a year, equipped with a rain sensor and a meter to measure moisture levels so unnecessary irrigation and excess moisture in the soil does not occur. The system will be extended to the area of the new plots and will also lessen the potential impacts to ground and surface waters. The standing water near the entrance to the cemetery at Old Stone Highway is located in an area with an elevation of 2 to 3 feet. This area was flagged as a wetland and depicted on a survey in 1991 prior to the development of the property as a cemetery, and appears to represent a wetland in the groundwater table. A number of existing drainage structures located in the Eternal Cemetery Road were identified in the field and correspond with a drainage plan prepared for the site in 1995. Although no additional drainage is proposed in the subject application, the majority of the clearing for additional plots is proposed approximately 1,400 linear feet from this wetland, and given the distance and the configuration of the cemetery, it does not appear that the further runoff will contribute to flooding in this area. So what I have shared is the 1995 site plan, and if I zoom in, highlighted in yellow are the drainage structures that were approved and should be there. Pictures of those drains are in the memo. As you can see, pathway that goes to the street, where there's one more highlighted structure, drainage structure. And if we move further to the right here, we can see it by the entranceway. If I zoom in, there is wetlands that are delineated here, edge of wetlands in this area. And I've attached a picture of those as well to the memo, where you can see where the wetlands are close to the road. So the ITE trip generation manual does not indicate that cemeteries generate significant traffic as well. So comments from the fire marshal received November 6, 2020 have found the submitted information sufficient. and no improvements for firefighting protection are required. The project is an unlisted action pursuant to SECRA and Chapter 128 of the Town Code. The Planning Department has determined that no significant adverse impacts have been identified, and a negative declaration was made pursuant to SECRA and Chapter 128 of the Town Code. So in conclusion, provided the board agrees, the application is ready for approval. Conditions of the approval are proposed scenic easement surrounding the property and the prohibited use of embalming fluids.
And just as a, as I said on the other ones, I had the transcript posted to the town's website in December, and more than 7 days has passed, so we've met that requirement.
Great. Thomas, generally after a public hearing, we don't have comment from the applicant, but is it your position that I should ask Dan if he has anything he wants to say?
Yeah, I think that's probably fine.
Okay. Dan, do you want to make any?
I have no comment at this time.
Okay. All right. Then Ed, this is your application.
Right. Yeah. So I definitely appreciate the comments that were made by the public on this, and certainly those of you who are familiar with Old Stone Highway in that neighborhood know that there's a flooding issue there at Old Stone Highway. I went there a couple of times in the last couple of months to kind of have a look at this, and as Marco pointed out, where the actual cemetery is a quarter mile or so in from the road. It is at an 18 to 20 foot elevation, much higher than Old Stone Highway. So I don't think that that's an issue, and the drainage work that's been done that Marco detailed, I think mitigates a lot of that problem. I think some of the other concerns that were expressed are kind of met by the way in which people of the Jewish faith are interred. And I think also the fact that there are drought-tolerant grasses, that there's sustainable lawn care happening here, that irrigation is minimal. I think that we've done all that we can do to sort of make this, minimally impactful on the neighborhood, which I think, as a use, cemeteries typically are, particularly ones of this type. I was interested to see that the data, the transport data that Marco came up with, because it does sort of seem to me, just anecdotally, that the cemeteries are not visited a lot. In fact, I've probably been there 4 or 5 times, and I've yet to see one other person there. So I think we've addressed that comment as well. So I guess, just summarizing all of that, I feel like the applicants worked hard with us to make this work. And I think the comments made by the public have been addressed, and I think we're ready to go forward.
Okay, thanks, Ed. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to contribute to this? Does anybody have any opposing views?
Kathy, a question.
Yeah.
Is there any type of signage, just to the comment about that's it, it just says 306, and that's the people that are going there know that they should turn at 306 to go in?
Yes.
I think so.
That's all there is.
Yeah.
And because I guess that really is a sign, and I was thinking if there were a sign, maybe it would avoid people turning around on other people's property, but it seems like there's already a sign there.
There is.
Yeah, I don't know if that's really the problem, Randy, although I understand what you're saying. I think that's further in. It seemed to me, well, I'd like to hear from the rest of the board before I make my comments, but I think it's just on the day of funerals, a day of interment, that there is, that the one caller, my understanding of his comments were that on the day of internments, there are, there's more traffic. Ordinarily, as Ed is saying, there's no one there, but I think it had to do with people, there just being more cars there. So
I do believe the road, the entrance is also shared with a different property. I I do believe that is the case. But when you drive in to that first initial 306 sign, drive further in, you can see the gate and the sign for the cemetery.
Right.
Just wanted to add that.
Okay. Well, thanks, Ed, for your overview. Lou, do you have any comments, or is everybody pretty good with this? I'd rather just hear if people have something.
I don't have anything to add, Kathy. I
Okay,
think
great,
Ed
thanks.
said it very well.
Great, thanks. Ian,
Nothing to add.
Sharon,
Nothing to add.
Randy?
Nope.
Okay, great. I think it's ready for approval. I want to thank the applicant also. I think we had a lot of back and forth on this. I just wanted to clarify this proposed scenic easement surrounding the property. There was also an unusual, a sort of a kidney bean shape within the property that was also going to be part of the scenic easement that I wanted to make sure, the easement as depicted on the survey. It's not just the property surrounding the plots. There are little pockets in between too, and there's one in the middle.
Yeah.
And then
I think that's a good point, Kathy, because the easement is not really surrounding the property at all. It's all within the site.
right. So I just wanted to make sure that language wasn't confusing, because everything, all the land that's around the present plots and in the middle, where that little pond is, and then that the road encircles, is going to be a scenic easement. And then, of course, we've asked, and the applicant has kindly agreed to keep as a condition of approval that the prohibition of the use of embalming fluids, even though, as Ed rightly points out, the Jewish faith prohibits that. They answer to a higher power. I had to get that in there for someone I know. And my only question, I just wanted to reemphasize for the people who took the time, the neighbors who took the time to call in and make comment, that as the memo indicates, and as Ed has said, the standing water at the, I guess it's the northern edge of the property, is really a consequence of the wetland. It doesn't really have anything to do with the cemetery specifically. And with respect to the traffic and people backing into that one neighbor's yard, I would just think that, or driveway, I would just think that if the Jewish Center would consider, on days when they're having, when a lot of people are going to access the cemetery, they're having a ceremony, that they put, removable signs, or just to direct people so they don't mistakenly go into someone's driveway. That seems like an easy fix, and it would possibly address the concern of that one neighbor. But if others agree to that, I think that would be, what do you think, Dan? Is that something that your client might be willing to do?
They possibly would. I have no problem approaching them about that. I know in the past they've been reluctant to put a permanent sign at the roadside, because they don't want to draw attention to the fact there's a cemetery back in the woods. They don't want loiterers. But I think they would probably be amicable to something on days of interment, a temporary sign being posted.
I think that might be a nice gesture to the neighbor. I would oppose a sign on the roadside too. I think that's part of what makes this place so special, is it really is a place of rest. It's a still, quiet, it's lovely. It's really lovely. But I think it would be a neighborly thing if they just had, a cone, or I don't know, something to say, so-and-so internment this way, instead of just to help that one man. So other than that, I would say, with those conditions, this is ready for approval.
Yep.
I don't know that that's a condition of approval. That's really something between the neighbor and the cemetery. And
right.
If
I
Dan
didn't mean to imply it was a condition of approval. I was just suggesting as a neighborly thing. I thought I used that word just to be neighborly, because it was raised as an issue by a neighbor, that the Jewish, they're nice people. I'm sure they would do something like that. Okay, so do we have to, we're good, right? Everybody thinks this is ready for approval. We don't have to take a vote or anything.
Yep.
Okay,
All good.
onward. Thank you. Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Okay.
Thank you,
Sam,
board.
you're back. Sam,
I'm here.
okay.
I'm here. Let me emerge. Okay, there. How come I'm not? I don't see my smiling face here. Hold on one second. Come on. There I am. Hello.
There he is.
Thank you. Okay, that leaves us with Elmwood Apartment, which, unless Ms. Wiltshire has anyone up, is right here. Do we have her back yet? If she hasn't come on, then after we do Elmwood Apartment, then we can go into the regular meeting and we can reschedule the East Hampton House pool for another night.
Okay, who's going to take us through this? Is this Joanne or Marco?
Good question. Joanne?
Yeah.
Joyce?
Yes, well,
Thank
I'm covering it. In June of 2018, the planning board approved a site plan to build a second-story apartment over an existing one-story retail store on South Emerald Avenue in downtown Montauk, and also reconfigured parking, lighting, and landscaping. The building plans that were approved were to build essentially a stick-built building, and they have a certain date on them and they were prepared by a certain person. The applicant does not want to use those building permits, those building plans. They're instead putting up a modular building, and because of that, the date of the building plans and the preparer is different than what you approved in your approval or reflected in your resolution. The building itself does not differ. It's exactly the same footprint, the same building, but it's been the policy that the town policy that the plans that are reflected in the planning board file should be the same as those reflected in that there's a building permit issued on, and that the purpose of that is to make sure that there are no glitches or no changes that occur that the planning board's not on board with, and that they've reviewed everything that's actually getting built. So this is just a proposal to modify the approval to substitute the date, a different date and preparer for the building plans as opposed to the ones that you approved initially.
Joanne, can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead, Ed.
Is this you say this is exactly the same building as was proposed before? It's just simply using modular construction as opposed to being stick built. Did I hear you right?
That's it.
So am I seeing these elevations correctly? That it's basically suspended above the building below on a platform? I don't remember that about it.
I was advised that they were. I'm unfortunately I did not review this myself, and I don't have the building plan. I'm just covering this.
But am I seeing the plan correctly? That it really essentially is a platform over an existing building with another building on it.
I'm here to represent the applicant.
Oh, hey, Chris.
Yeah. Chris.
May I speak to that?
Yeah, well, let me just make sure that Joanne doesn't have anything else.
Okay.
No, I don't have anything to add. I myself have not reviewed the building plan, so I'm just covering the memo. So it'd be better for the architect to speak.
Sure. So what's happening is the building's going to look identical to what we already had approved by the ARB and by this board. It's really just a change in the method of construction. And what's happening is we've poured the footings, we're putting in a steel frame outside and over the existing tech-built store, and then building cheek walls from the existing store roof up to the bottom of this apartment. So it will be one building, and there's decks around a couple of sides on the second floor. But the idea was the owner of the building did not want to evict his tenant, and so it's that whole situation. So the original building is staying underneath as it is.
Okay. Okay. Well, yeah, I just want to make sure I was looking at it correctly.
Yes. So it's a tech built, so it does have a sloped roof and vaulted ceiling inside. So we have these triangular spaces that will be housing mechanicals essentially between the bottom of the floor of the apartment and the roof of the store underneath. Okay. That's where air handlers go. But they will be hidden with walls.
All right. All right. So it'll appear like kind of a conventional two-story building is what you're saying.
When it's done, yeah.
When it's done. Okay. Okay. Thanks.
Sure. So the only thing that we're really doing here is changing the method of construction.
Got it.
We'll be setting the modules instead of framing it in place.
Okay.
Did you have anything else you wanted to add, Mr. DeSuna?
That's all.
Okay, very good. Randy, this was yours. Randy?
I don't have any problem. Seems like really a clerical correction of the plans we have in the file for the site plan.
Okay. Does anyone have anything they want to add on this particular application? Hearing none, is the application complete and ready for approval? Anyone
Yes. Aye.
Aye all around?
Yes.
Yes.
Anybody say no? In that case, mark it complete and ready for approval. There you go.
Thanks,
Thank
Chris.
you, everyone.
Thanks, Chris.
Good night.
Sam, a question on the pool. I remember Lori asking us to expedite so that they could build their pool for this summer. And I don't know that there's any requirement that she be present for us to find their application ready to approve. So I'm just wondering if.
Well, you know what?
Shouldn't we just
Let me put it this way, Randy. Let me put it this way.
Yeah.
If we find that it's not complete and ready for approval, then there might be some reason for complaint. So you've got a good point. And so, all right, Marco, why don't you take us through? It is yours, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Why don't you take us through, and then Ed, you can do your analysis, and then we can address the one question. Thomas, do we have a problem with any of that?
Yeah, I mean, the one problem is that, we're going to open this up to discussion. If anyone feels like it's not ready for approval, then the applicant's not here to address that. And I think that's a problem. Hold on a second.
I don't think that's the case, though.
Mike, yeah, but.
Well, then where is she? I mean, where are they? I don't understand.
Chair, if I may interrupt, there is a.
No, right ahead.
Sure, there's a phone number coming into the Zoom waiting room, a cell phone number at this moment.
Well,
I don't know who it is.
is.
If you'd like me to let it in.
Anybody want to make any bets on this one?
All right, I will admit this.
Go right ahead. Anyone familiar with that phone number down there?
That's me, Lori Wiltshire.
Good.
Okay.
Okay. All right, good. Then we can go forward with this. Thank you for calling in. All right.
No problem.
Marco, go right ahead.
Okay. Screen here. So a site plan application has been made to renovate an existing pool area with brick paving, a barbecue patio area, shed, and walkways with a new pool of 1,193 square feet, a brick paved deck of 4,406 square feet, 2 dry wells, ornamental fencing, doors for the pool shed, and a new barbecue patio of 123 square feet, and extensive landscaping. A public hearing was held electronically by video and teleconferencing, televised on local TV, LTV, Channel 22, and was made available for live stream on the LTV website December 2nd, 2020. A transcript of the hearing was posted to the town's website after the hearing. The hearing was to remain open until January 2nd, 2021 for the purpose of receiving written comments. No members of the public spoke at the hearing, and no written letters have been submitted to the file to date. Comments from the fire marshal dated October 30th, 2020 have found the submitted information sufficient and no improvements for firefighting protection were required. The fire marshal has found the project to be ADA compliant. The project is a type 2 action pursuant to SECRA and Chapter 128 of the Town Code. No further review under SECRA is required. In conclusion, provided the board agrees, the application is ready for approval. Conditions of approval stated approval from the planning board will be required for the reestablishment of a coffee shop.
And I had the transcript of the public hearing posted on the town website in December, and it's been more than 7 days, so it meets that requirement.
Very good. Thank you very much. Okay. Does Ms. Wilshire, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
No, I think the project's complete and we should just move on.
All right. In that case, this is Ed. It's yours. Anything to add?
I agree with Lori on this one, this time. Yeah, no, thank you, Lori, for being patient and running with us on all of this, especially the other condition of approval around the coffee shop stuff and all of that conversation we had a few meetings ago. It's good. I'm ready to go.
Excellent. So, all right, with that in mind, does anyone else have anything they want to add with respect to this application? In that case, is the application ready for approval? Do we all agree?
Yes.
Aye.
Anyone
Aye.
disagree? Hearing
Thank
none.
you.
Is that a productive phone call? There you go.
Thanks, Lori.
Thank
Very
you.
much.
Have a great day.
Thank you again. All right, we can now move on to the regular meeting. We have, we took care of the Verizon at Stephen Ann's Path approval, so we have two matters on. Ian, you would like to, if you don't mind, do us the landscape details, operational site, extension of time.
In the matter of the application of landscape details, operational site plan, special permit, for a period of 1 year or until June 22nd, 2021. I have read the resolution and move for its adoption.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, very well. And I will close this out with the Board of Review with respect to B&D
What about
property.
John Sebastiansky?
I don't have it. Is that on the?
That was on the revised agenda. John
Noted.
Sebastiansky Art Studio to schedule a public hearing.
Oh, thank you very much. I don't have that on my agenda. So,
A new agenda was published later in the day.
Today?
That's Lou's. Lou, do you have it?
Yeah, I do. Do we usually read the whole thing or just?
No.
No.
you
Okay.
read the operative part.
Just skip to the first sentence of number 3 after you read the top part.
Okay. In the matter of the application of John Sebastiansky Artist Studio, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-155-1-8.5. A public hearing is hereby scheduled Wednesday, February 3rd, 2021 at 7 p.m. or as soon thereafter as this matter may be heard to consider the said application. Dated January 13th, 2021.
Second.
They're all in favor.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed and carried, 7-0. Okay, thank you very much. I don't know why that's not on the one that I picked up at 1 o'clock
Okay.
today. Well, not 1 o'clock, 10
What
o'clock.
I'm here for.
All right, no, thank you. All right, final, Board of Review.
That's why we need two of you.
Twice the trouble. B&D property of Montauk is the applicant or the person making the request. The premises is located at 60 North Farragut Road in Montauk. Map 1019, lots portions of 12 and 13, urban renewal parcel 14C in Montauk, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-12-5-11.3. The amount of the undertaking is $9,150. I have read the Board of Review and I find it satisfactory. I move for its approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Does anyone have anything they wish to add this evening before we take a motion to adjourn?
Not me.
All
Thank
right.
you.
In that case, somebody like to move at 8:30 exactly?
Wow. Motion to close.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passed and carried. Everybody have a great couple of weeks. We're back on January 26th.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Take care.